What was the worst reason you had to stop in the middle of sex for? My son snuck into the room while he was supposed to be sleeping. He's 5, not sure how long he was standing behind us for, but he proceeded to slap my butt while I was power driving my wife. It stopped very fast. Why are kids so weird? Frick. We were both really drunk. She went to switch positions and fell off the bed, right onto a rather expensive RC plane I had built about a week prior. Absolutely destroyed it. The following hour was spent picking balsa and basswood slivers out of her butt. I bet that's not the kind of wood you wanted to put in her butt. I fainted. We were going at it and it felt amazing. Suddenly I tunnel visioned, yelled something incomprehensible, and passed out. We like to refer to it as the time he fricked me to unconsciousness. LOL. You realize he has bragged about that to every single one of his buddies. I couldn't focus. We were in like spooning position, with her in front of me. Her cat climbed on the bed and sat in front of her and faced me. He maintained eye contact with me the whole time. It was so awkward. I was 18. She was 17. Dad's girlfriend called to tell me my dad had just died suddenly. Talk about mixed emotions. It was my first time in my own room too. Think it was the only time in that room. That's a freaking bummer. Sorry bro. I couldn't get anything more than a half chub. Chick was super hot and luckily I already got her off through other means. It was still incredibly embarrassing considering I was full sober and really wanted it. Nerves get to you sometimes, I guess. Been there several times. It can be the hottest girl on the planet and sometimes your junk is just like, nah, I don't feel like it right now. I had recently torn some muscles in my shoulder playing ice hockey. I was on top holding myself up and my shoulder gave out. I landed right on her face with all my weight. Night ended with a trip to the ER, a broken nose, and 2 black eyes. My boyfriend at the time vomited, but he was on his back so it went all over his face. It was New Year's Eve. Talk about a mood killer. So I was giving it to my wife doggy style. She was on the edge of the bed and our backs were to the door. Anyway, the dog was freaking out for a little while and eventually I said, why is the dog freaking out, only to have my 5-year-old respond behind me, maybe it's because I am standing here. Needless to say that scared the crap out of me and our bedroom now had a lock. Jesus, kids do the weirdest crap sometimes. Got a nosebleed as I was going down on my girlfriend at the time. Worst part about it was I kept going even after tasting the blood, because I was so embarrassed about it. She was not happy when she looked down and saw blood everywhere. I know this is weird, but I honestly don't mind a little blood. Blood had never weirded me out and the taste isn't the worst in the world, so as long as she's having a good time I'll keep on. Side note, committed relationship and both of us are STD free. First one. Her little sister, 11, burst in and stood there with her jaw dropped. It was standing sex. Second one. We were having sex in the back of my truck in the middle of nowhere and a pack of coyotes completely surrounding us started howling. Scared the crap out of us. My roommate I was living with at the time screamed DHHH Hera don't STOHP. Axio bum through the door. Hard to keep going after that. He was fricking my breasts and I made the mistake of looking down. With each thrust, the hole at the tip of his penis would open and close like a little mouth singing a jovial, albeit silent tune. Where I was, it was an unexpected cartoon on mute. From his perspective, I looked at his dong and laughed. I had this happen too. I imagined his dong wearing a top hat and saying hello every time. I couldn't stop laughing. My head hanging off the side of the bed, him face fricking me. In this position, you get a very nice view of the man's buttocks, except he had a piece of dingleberry. I immediately left. Oh god. One time my husband and I were having sex. He flipped me over to doggy style, but after like 1 minute he flips me back over again, which I thought was weird. I'm taking a shower afterwards and while washing my butt I realize I have a big old dingleberry. No wonder he wanted my butt facing away. He has no idea, I know, but I'm still rather embarrassed about the whole thing. First, her 4-year-old son walked in and let the dog in. Then the dog got on the bed. Then my lady friend turned the light on and we discovered her period had started. Then the dog threw up all over the bed. In college, Girlfriend at the time felt a little sick but well enough for sexy time. Halfway through and I'm trying to switch positions from being on top. Being that we were on a small dorm room bed, there wasn't much room to move around. Accidentally put my full body weight on her side. Turns out, she had mono and her spleen was severely enlarged, so when I put my body weight on it, it ruptured. She ran out screaming, crying, and naked. Ended up in the ER that night and I got mono the next week. I dated a girl in Salt Lake City. Her apartment was on ground level. Her living room had a set of doors that opened out to a raised porch, just off the street, near Temple Square where Mormons are always walking around. Sometimes we would frick in her living room with those doors open. We were young and drunk and didn't think anyone could see into her apartment. One night, she and I imbibed enough red wine to paint a barn. I was railing her from behind. I hear yelling from out on the street. My drunk brain doesn't register the sounds as directed at me. I keep pounding. Drunk girlfriend unleashes a fountain of red wine puke. Slow motion my brain sees her puking, but my dong feels her pee tensing up. ICM. Waves of confusion and bliss assault me. I jump up to go get her a towel or something. I hear laughter shrieking from the street. Two bros are standing on the other side of the road dying laughing. They just watched this whole fiasco go down from across the road. My girlfriend was mortified. Then she went and blacked out. We were quietly having sex while her parents were home. We had done this many times and every time we cover up the noise by turning on a movie or a TV show. This time we turned on SpongeBob. Middle of having sex something funny happened in the show and I just busted out laughing, completely killing the mood. She unfortunately did not find it so entertaining. Toddler waking up in the middle of the night sticks in my head as the worst. Seriously, having to talk to a 2-year-old with dong breath is so uncomfortable. Edit. Okay everyone. I had dong breath. Not my kid. We were in HS and couldn't find a good place for sex. So we were fricking in my car parked off a remote road when a police car drove up behind us and flashed the police lights. I quickly unmounted and we dressed as quickly as possible when the police knocked on the door and asked me to get out of the car. I only had my boxers and t-shirt on at that point but I complied anyway and the police started asking questions to my girlfriend. Are you here at your own will? It's okay to tell the truth because you're safe now. He let us go, but it sure made me feel like a rapist. Almost the exact same thing happened to me. The cop pulled my girlfriend out of the car and asked if she was here at her own will, word for word. I thought to myself, wow, she really has the power to get me in crap right now if she wanted to. Then when the cop left he told me to treat her with respect and get a room. Parent walked in. Nothing more pleasant to her parents' eyes than walking in and seeing their son plowing their girlfriend. Emergency bathroom run. Ended up having about 5 minutes of noisy poops while I could hear her laughing so hard she was snorting. Had something similar happen. I'm on my stomach eating her out when suddenly there's a disturbance in the force. I try to soldier through, but it came to the point where I either stopped or I was going to crap myself. I figured getting up and running to the bathroom was less of a mood killer. She got an insane nosebleed at climax, followed by 2 more nosebleeds upon subsequent orgasms. Bro, I can make a girl come so hard her nose explodes. Con, I need new sheets pillows. I think in anime that nosebleeds are like some weird covered sign of finding someone really attractive, so that's a plus. My kitten snuck into my room. Apparently my boyfriend's bouncing dangling bits looked a bit like a toy to her, teeth and claws engaged. He threw the kitten out of the room but I was laughing too hard to continue. Pussies like dongs. I downloaded The Sims on my iPad, pretty awful version of the game. Played it maybe once and never touched it again. You know how when the characters speak, it's not actual English but just gibberish that sounds really funny? Yeah, well, late at night when we were going at it, my iPad just lit up randomly at the other side of the room and at full volume played one of the Sims just muttering some absolute shite. Both of us just stopped, looked at each other and started laughing. I didn't even know what it was at the time cause I wasn't paying attention, but learned in the morning it was one of those you haven't played in ages comeback notifications. That was only time I ever heard that noise. Oh boy, I have a story for this. So every lady has had a moment in time where they thought they were done with Mother Nature's monthly visit. This is one of those times, but worse. My boyfriend and I were going at it, and during that time, my body decided that I was, in fact, not done with my period. I didn't notice, for obvious reasons. However, my boyfriend had a much different view. We went to change positions, and he happened to look down. Blood everywhere. Now normally, we do our business if I'm bleeding or not because showers, but this was quite a shock. He faints. I watched the color drain from his face and he stumbled backwards and hit the closet door. He went down to the ground, where there was a cement floor under our carpet, because apartment life. I'm standing over him, and I go to pull him up to get him conscious, and I feel a wet, pulsing feeling in my hands. He split the back of his head open and was now bleeding. The shittiest part, my sister had my car, and was visiting our mom. If she booked it back, I'd have a 40-minute wait minimum. So I call 911. I managed to get through the call and tell the dispatcher the reason, and I get off the phone. As I was hanging up, I'm pretty sure I heard the dispatcher giggle. We were having sex and he fell. Is not how I wanted to tell a stranger why my boyfriend was bleeding, and now conscious. Afterwards, I proceed to call my sister and mother about 20 times, and finally give up and proceed to open my front door and get my pets put in another room for the EMTs. EMTs arrive, get my boyfriend situated in the back of the ambulance. By now my sister's called me back and is going to meet me at the hospital. People are out gawking in the parking lot as I climb into the ambulance. We get to the ER and they give my boyfriend 9 staples. We go over the concussion drill, go home, and prepare for the phone calls. Most people think he tripped over the cat climbing into bed, not fricking his girlfriend while her body decided to surprise period. Good times. TLDR. Surprise period during sex. Boyfriend faints and splits head open. After a visit, told people he tripped over the cat. My mother-in-law was loudly knocking at our door at 8 AM on a Sunday morning. It was the spring. Our bedroom window was wide open, which also happens to be directly next to the front door. As if indirectly knowing she heard what we were up to wasn't bad enough, the old bag barged in and exclaimed, "Son is cranky, you can just finish later." The door of the bedroom suddenly flew open but no one immediately came through the doorway. A few seconds later, a golf ball rocketed into the room, ricocheted off the far wall, and came to rest in the middle of the room. At this point I had completely stopped thrusting, both my girlfriend and I perplexed at what was happening. As I'm laying motionless on top of her, she was about to open her mouth to say something when my roommate walked in, completely naked, holding a 7-iron over his shoulder with one hand and his junk in the other. Completely serious, he asked, "Mind if I play through?" Neither me nor my girlfriend said anything as he approached his ball and lined up his shot, bent over in a slight crouch with his butt facing us. He hit a beauty back out the door into the hallway, thanked us, left the room, and shut the door. We both immediately lost it laughing. No way we were going to be able to continue after that. I wasn't even mad. I have so many questions. Husband's head got caught in the ceiling fan. I was facing away. Okay, fine. It was doggy style. He didn't stop right away. I asked what that thumping noise was and he said, "Don't worry about it. I took one for the team." Then dust bunnies started raining down around me and we fell over laughing. I was bent over on the top of the stairs with my boyfriend going at it from behind. I used to get these migraines that would appear in a split second from nowhere, where I'd lose my vision and start puking and crapping with about 5 seconds to spare. He didn't know what was going on. I'm lucky I didn't knock us both downstairs scrabbling blindly for the toilet, where I'd lose my vision and start puking and crapping with about 5 seconds to spare. That's the worst kind of migraine I've ever heard of. I was on call for a mental health crisis team when a client called and said they had just taken an entire bottles of pills, then hung up. I was way too drunk, almost threw up while on top, so I had her ride me. That was even worse. So I had her just give me head, and as soon as I opened my eyes I knew I was going to puke. So I run downstairs, in a friend's house, but butt naked, and proceed to puke all over myself my friend's bathroom, getting in the shower afterwards to clean up. Was going at it and felt and heard a pop. Don't know what happened but it was painful for a few minutes but it killed the mood because she thought she broke my dong. Second reason I had put some music on through Pandora on my TV and My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion came on and I couldn't stop laughing about. I was literally crying with tears rolling down my face. The ex didn't like that and it killed the mood. I feel like I potentially have a few things to contribute to this, but once I had to stop because, doing it doggy style and a spider drops down from the ceiling not 2 inches from my face and I freak out. I don't mind spiders, but when they come out of nowhere during pound time, kinda freaky, and almost broke my then fiance's dong off, killed the mood instantly. Pushed her head off my dong mid blowjob because her iPod, which I bought for her, dinged and it was a message from her ex saying thanks for the head. Smashed the iPod on the floor, threw up, drove home, showered for a long time, never went back. She was promptly blocked on every social media. My friend recently informed me she's having a kid with said ex. I was dating this woman who had a really crappy history with men, as in literally every man she'd been in a relationship with had been abusive, either physically, emotionally, or sexually. After a couple weeks of going out, we go back to her place. She kisses me out of nowhere. Things escalate very quickly after that. After who knows how long, we're literally as close as it's possible to be to actually having sex. Both of us 100% naked, and I'm knocking on heaven's door, when out of nowhere she stops and says, well, I don't think I'm gonna be having sex tonight. No, I asked. Nope, she said. Sorry, dang, okay, and that was that. I didn't beg, plead, try to convince her otherwise. She said no, and that was that. I've always told everyone I've ever been with that at any point, all they had to do was say no, and I'd stop immediately. But I'd never actually had to test that before her. She broke up with me a few weeks later, and we never did end up having sex. But, at least I passed the test. Good on you, dude. She farted on my balls. Her legs were up by her ears and I was on the in-stroke. One of the strangest sensations of my life. Just keep going. Everybody farts. We set the bed on fire. From what we could figure out, one of the legs of the bed had come to rest on an extension cord. So as the bed, moved, it stripped the cord and must have made a spark which jumped to the bedclothes. Heroic soul leaped out of bed and smothered the fire with his boxers. I still get wistful when I hear that 90s song that starts, "This bed is on fire with passionate love." I went for a college visit, and the evening before my morning interview was scheduled, I hit the pubs. I met a girl and made some progress. We went back to her place and got it on. In the middle of the night, in the middle of our passion, we rolled off the bed and I broke her leg. I took her to the hospital and stayed with her all night, which meant I was late for my interview, and meant that I showed up without having showered, reeking from the pubs, and the girl, and the hospital, all of which was obvious, because it was the first topic we addressed in the interview, with my mom in the room. My hands were really cold, I was on top and I put my hands on his chest. He yelled out, and told me to go put on some mittens or something. For some reason I couldn't stop laughing. And this wasn't your average laughing. This was your squealing, ugly can't stop hysterical laughter. It was the first queef I'd ever heard in person. 16 years old, first piece of butt I'd ever gotten. My dong slipped out and I heard her pee inhale like it was out of breath. When I put it back and I put it all the way back in and that thing let out the loudest fart I've heard to date. 16-year-old me was like, what the frick was that, and she played like she didn't hear anything. I laughed and she was so embarrassed that she couldn't continue. I'll never forget that pee fart. I heard her pee inhale like it was out of breath. Good work, bro. I had a panic attack, fell off the bed and almost knocked myself out. Not sure why this happened, but she was begging me to let her call an ambulance. I refused because I figured I'd be fine. After taking some Tylenol and drinking some water, we went back to it. One of the best and weirdest nights of my life. She had a PTSD episode and was freaking out, so I had to stop and let her know I wasn't going to hurt her and we could just cuddle. Also had her ask me to stop the first time and I did. She was shocked and asked why I stopped. Because you told me to. That's when I found out that no guy ever had before. You're a good guy. Let's just say when they tell you to use a rubber after chemotherapy, they aren't fricking around. Radioactive fluids. I created chemical burns. It slipped out of her vagina and stabbed her in the anus. She cried. She got over it and we continued to have sex 10-20 minutes later though. He became angry with me and refused to continue because I couldn't stop laughing at my cat. In my defense, he had gotten onto the bed, saw what we were doing, and just sat there watching with his ears back, as though we were annoying him. I tried to just close my eyes and focus on my orgasm, but every time I opened them, there he was. Have also had to stop for cat vomit. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.